Hello Internet, welcome to another episode of Romney's Reviews. Mirror, Mirror. The first in a line of 3 movies based on Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Yeah, I know that you only know about Mirror, Mirror and Snow White and the Huntsman, but there was actually a third one on the way. Link in the description. As you notice, I'm in a different setting, and the background noise you may be hearing is my mom watching TV in the other room, so hopefully you'll be able to hear my voice. The banding, again, fluorescent lights are evil. Well, it was a bit of a mixed bag for me. Now, the art style, although it was a little annoying at first, it kind of grew on me, because it really made it kind of unique, made it kind of feel like a fairy tale. It's just the animation was a little bit much. The story was pretty well told, pretty well written, but the one major flaw I saw with this movie was a lot of the scenes with Julia Roberts. I do not see her as the evil queen, and apparently neither did any of the people who wrote the script or cast the film. A lot of the early scenes that Julia Roberts is in feel forced. They feel like the result of some contractual obligation that, oh, since it's Julia Roberts, we have to have this scene and this scene and this scene. I mean, granted, she's a good actress, but it wasn't written very well. I mean, when the time that she was playing the apparition in The Magic Mirror, that was a little more believable. I think the biggest problem was that they couldn't decide if they were trying to play it straight or if it was trying to be straight, or if it was trying to be satire. And bouncing between both with no real pattern made it kind of annoying. Now, the way they did it with the prince actually made a little more sense with the prince and his servant, but with her, I just didn't see the evil. Even in the final act where she actually is evil, I still didn't see it. It wasn't there. Just, the thing is that they didn't really make her evil. They made her seem petty. Petty and evil are two different things. I can understand that in the story, the queen was petty, but it just didn't work. Now, towards the end, the writing and things seemed to pick up a little bit. You actually got to see a little more of the evil, but it was kind of a too little too late scenario. Now, the ending of it, I mean, there's no real way to do this without spoilers, because it's obviously gonna end happily because it's a fairy tale. And now, towards the end, they bring in a lot of stuff that we saw in the Disney version of Snow White from the 40s, where they have the poisoned apple and everything, and they did clever stuff with that. And Lily Collins and, I don't know who played the prince, but basically those people did a really good job, and especially with the dwarves, they gave them their own unique feel. But the ones that really stood out were Vern Troyer and the guy that played Mickey in Seinfeld. I don't know the actor's actual name, but those two were the ones that majorly stood out. But the people they cast for the dwarves were actually pretty good. They were pretty believable, pretty likable. And now Nathan Lane, he's wasted in this movie. And wasted, I don't mean drunk, I mean they could have done so much more with Nathan Lane. I mean, he's a good actor. He's good with comedic timing, but again, he's not used that well. I mean, during the scenes he's in, it's actually really funny. I actually got a good laugh, but then they literally kind of took him out of the movie by turning him into a bug. And even towards the end when he changes back, they also made it funny, but again, he's wasted in this film. One thing I did not expect, but given that the filmmaker, at least looking at his last name, is probably from India, kind of makes sense, because during the end credits, they actually have a bit of a Bollywood dance number. And it was like a Bollywood dance number with an American flair. It's not like you're watching Slumdog Millionaire and being really confused. This actually worked, because instead of just doing a whole bunch of the Bollywood style dances, it took a more American style of music, American style of dance, and it worked better. And I'm guessing that the singing came a little more naturally since Lily Collins is the daughter of Phil Collins. The artistic style of this film, again, it was a little annoying at first, mostly because of Tarsem's previous work. I mean, I've seen the Nostalgia Critics review of The Cell, and we all know the little gag of the "ask me what it means, ask me what it means, oh!" But you didn't really see that much here, because I'm guessing Tarsem's no longer as full of himself, because I'm guessing that was his first film, and like any of us starting in film, we start out trying to be the artiste, hoping to change the world with our camera, and then bit by bit we slowly mellow out. And I'm guessing that's what happened here, is that he's kind of mellowed out and decided to focus more on creating nice visuals without doing the whole, ask me what it means, ask me what it means. I just love saying that. It's fun. And so the artistic style, it worked. Although at first I just thought, okay, this is kind of ridiculous, but it actually worked because it created sort of this literally this black and white fairy tale kind of environment. You know, it's kind of like how Tim Burton probably would have done it, except without all the gloomy, dark energy that Tim Burton tends to put with his stuff. It has a very expressionistic style, but it's a little happier, you know, kind of like what a fairy tale is supposed to be. And so I wouldn't really call this a more adult-oriented fairy tale or a more matured fairy tale. It's just more of a creative reimagining because, again, there's a lot more action to it, and the action is actually really, really well done. Especially with Lily Collins actually fighting. Although some of the sword fighting and choreography was a little hit and miss, and mostly because of my trained eyes, you can tell at some points where they were using clips where they waited and then heard action and then started, at least with one particular scene. If you're a filmmaker, you'll know it when you see it, but overall, a lot of the stuff, it felt natural. I mean, a lot of it was organic, a lot of it was pretty clever, but it didn't get to like the George Lucas fancy choreography levels. Some of the stuff was realistic, and Snow White was actually smart and cunning with a lot of her strategy, which makes sense. She's like roaming around with a band of thieves, and that's another thing I like, the dwarves being a band of thieves instead of a whole bunch of miners or lumberjacks or what have you. And that actually made them finding her, as well as introducing them to the story early on, a little bit creative. I mean, the imagery with the stilts and stuff, although you can tell part of it was CGI because, well, stilts like that would be highly improbable in this day and age and would probably result in a lot of broken ankles, broken knees, like torqued hips, speaking from experience. And so, I mean, the CGI is obvious, but at least this one, it felt kind of like puppets, which puppetry seemed to be a major motif with this film. I mean, you saw a lot of the marionette. There's a scene where literally they're fighting giant marionettes used by the spirit in the magic mirror, and that seemed to be a lot of the major motif, is having marionette-styled things. You see that in the early animation as well, how things look kind of like they're parts of a doll instead of having just like people. So, again, the film's a bit of a mixed bag. If you took out the Julia Roberts stuff, then it probably would have been a lot better, or if you just written the character better or cast someone else, because this is not one of Julia Roberts' best performances. That's just the skinny of it. It's because, I mean, she can do petty and stuff, but if the character's gonna be petty, have her be petty. If the character's gonna be evil, have her be evil. I mean, there's a way to do both, but they didn't really find that balance. I mean, if they're at least gonna be like petty and become evil, that thing should be more gradual instead of having, oh, she's evil in this scene, now she's just really petty in all these other scenes. Oh, she's evil here, and oh, now she's evil here. It needs to be more of a logical progression. Start out petty, let that become evil. That would have been a lot better if she started out mildly petty, and then maybe if Snow White was like getting a lot more attention than her, have that kind of evolve into her evil. But instead, it was a bit of, it was a mess. Her scenes were a real mess. And you can probably tell that which ones they actually had more emphasis on that weren't written around Julia Roberts. And yeah, if they took those scenes out or didn't try to focus so much on like the pop culture references for her, the film would have been a lot better. I mean, the lines from the prince and his little assistant that were kind of modern, that was funny. That actually got more of a response out of me because that felt like a more of a natural response. Because I mean, it's how guys would have probably have actually talked, although it probably would have been, I don't know, some type of Anglo-Saxon, maybe. This film's a bit of a mixed bag, but I think it does a good job. It doesn't try to become immediately dark, which is probably going to work to its advantage when it comes to DVD sales, as well with the comparison with Snow White and the Huntsman. But we'll review that when it comes out. On my personal scale, I'm giving Mirror Mirror a 3.5 out of 5. It's a really good family movie, but it's not perfect. So I would probably wait until you were in a dollar theater to watch it, or rent it from like Redbox or something. I mean, if you're gonna go see it in theater, then do the matinee. You'll not only save money, but it'll make watching the not-so-good parts hurt a little less. Next week, there isn't going to be an episode of Romney's Reviews because I've got a lot of homework I need to catch up on for my classes, and I'm a full-time college student, and that's just how it happens. But the week after that, I'll be taking a look at the new Three Stooges movie. See you then.